waiting. The first few thousand years were a little boring. I mean, after they stood up and started using tools, I thought things would get interesting. Fire, living together in groups. I really figured they'd start doing more things. But no, they just stalled. I waited patiently, trying to stay out of their way, trying not to let them see me as I watched them. It was easy for a while, but then they started to sense when I was around. It was funny at first, seeing them turn and look my way, even though I knew they couldn't see me. I would whisper. Seeing their confusion and fear gave me a little bit of a thrill. But eventually, I couldn't help it. I revealed myself to a few of them. I was only trying to help. I really thought if I gave them a little guidance as they got smarter, it would help them grow and do great things. I just appeared to a few of them around the world, making basic suggestions about how everyone should get along and how to take care of things, thinking I could finally do something interesting for a change. It backfired. As soon as one heard me and started telling stories to the others about my messages, it quickly got out of hand. Suddenly they all wanted to believe they could hear me. They started making up things they thought I had said, describing things I wanted them to do. Lies. They made up lies. But I was only one voice. Even as I tried to correct them, tried to speak to them, too many others spoke up. I had given an idea and they used it against each other. Used it to fight, control, enslave and destroy. I could only watch as they took the good I tried to do and turn it into bad. And now I wait. They haven't been around very long, and the way they're going, they won't be here too much longer. They're so bent on destroying each other that I just have to be patient. In another 1,000 years or so, they'll be gone, and I'll still be here. Maybe I'll help them along. Maybe if I speak to a few more of them, the destruction will happen faster, and the world can move on. I wonder what will rise up and take their place. Not alone. 8 years have passed since that fateful night, and those eyes still haunt me. No, our dreams. Even though all this time, I still forget my mind is not entirely my own, though you are not what I was expecting, and it's as if each day I am meeting you anew. Each day I must remind myself that this is a new day, and that I am to extend the eternal grace of our mother. And yet, as my sisters are guided by the divine hand of our mother, you merely listen. Some days I question if you are truly there, and not a manifestation of the misfortunes I desperately try to bury. But then, as for a moment I feel you, a gentle tapping on my heart, resonating throughout me, and I'm reminded that I am different, that we are different, for we are spared the great convergence that laid waste to our land, the culling of the unwashed. I often ponder if that was a mistake, if we were a mistake. I have no memory of time before the horrific night, and in the 8 years that followed we have merely existed, watching. I am mentioned in various texts as someone of importance, though not directly. Small references to my accomplishments and title, but those words paint a picture of a woman that I am no longer, a woman that we are no longer. We were revered as the herald of a new dawn for time, the hollow region spared of the horrors for our undoing, left empty by grief, a reminder of the hardships we faced in the days that followed the end, though that only lasted for as long as we were there to grain in their stories. Then we became the parry of their troubles, a convenient place to point their finger. Failing crops, stillborn children, lame livestock, it made no difference. And in all of this, you remained silent and observed. I've been finding myself back to that night, in our dreams, as if I'm looking for something or someone. After all this time, that memory is still clear. A perfect reflection of the moment, unembellished by time or emotion. That is, with one notable omission. You. You are never in that dream, even in understanding that you have been with me since, and knowing the depth that we are intertwined, I cannot find you there. I only find an emptiness, a dim hollow where I expect you to be, almost as if you were a gift to spare me the suffering that befell of all others who worshipped our mother that night. And even in my searching for that answer, I wonder, why now? After all this time do I find myself searching for a reason? Why now, when staring into the crimson eyes of that child, do you stare? Touched by a biblically accurate angel. Have you ever watched the TV series Touched by an Angel? The show where 3 angels are sent to Earth to help depressed people and tell them that God still loves them. It came out in 1994 and ran for 9 seasons. No? Doesn't ring a bell? That's fine, because the show was propaganda anyway, and was designed to misinform and distract from the truth. The truth is that angels don't look anything like how they're portrayed in the mainstream media. They don't have wings, at least not in the typical sense. Some have halos, and some don't. They mostly look like nightmare fuel. But most importantly, when you are touched by a biblically accurate angel, the chances that you'll go mentally insane are pretty high. I remember the first time I saw an angel. I was strung out over speedball, and unbeknownst to me, my buddy had overdosed next to me. I was awoke to the sound of something being ripped apart, like wet wrapping paper being torn from a gift. I saw this creature, with too many eyes and wings, munching on my friend's arm. Flesh hung from its razor-sharp teeth. Obviously, I screamed. My mind couldn't process what I just saw, and I began clawing at my eyes. I passed out from blood loss. When I awoke, I was in a room whose walls were littered with crosses. That room was in the Institute for Religiously Insane People. As I said earlier, when you encounter an angel, the chances are you're going to be messed up for a while. And at the Institute, our goal is to help those individuals and try and reform them back into society. That's right, I work for the Institute now. It took me a long time, but the priests here helped me recover, and I wanted to pay it forward, though the only reason the mentally damaged wasn't more significant than that was I was too high at the time. Anyway, I started working to intake as a patient and a care coordinator. The success rate for rehabilitation is about 50-50. Depends on if the angel performed some miracle on you or if you witnessed its feeding time. The human mind is fragile and usually can't handle seeing divine acts. Of the patients that do get to leave the Institute, more than half of them return to lead everyday lives. The others, well, you can usually see them walking down the street thrusting signs in the air and yelling about the apocalypse. Please don't tell anybody that I'm telling you this, but Adam is also a patient here. He keeps getting released for good behaviour, but keeps tracking Eve down trying to get his rib back. I love my job, although it can be stressful and monotonous after 100 years. I couldn't see myself anywhere else. And the coolest part is when Jesus visits and tells us all dad jokes. The day the shadows disappeared. It stumped our brightest minds. The religious went into a frenzy, and conspiracy theorists went into overdrive. Everyone just lived in a state of sheer confusion. The scientists investigated every theory possible. The sun had been out unusually bright lately. It could have been a change in the sun's solar energy, deterioration in the ozone causing light to bend differently. Nothing they could think of would explain it. The religious thought that shadows could be our spirits, and God had come to reclaim them, or perhaps our shadows were demons and God finally got rid of them. The conspiracy theorists thought that the simulation was glitching, or that it was part of some worldwide brainwashing experiment. But I know the truth. I am the only one who still has a shadow. For weeks scientists have been experimenting on me, but I swear my shadow is talking to me. I've been trying to comprehend it, but I can't quite hear it. Like it doesn't know how to communicate. I try and go to sleep, but my shadow is talking to me again. And now I can fully understand what it's saying. And what it said terrified me. We were only hiding behind you. I'm sorry, but we can't stop what's coming.